My name is Melanie Reeves, though almost everyone calls me Maddie. I've always been the quiet one in the family, the one who lingered behind while the rest moved on. For years, I cared for my father as his health declined, managing the estate and safeguarding his legacy. The Reeves house, a sprawling historic estate in Charleston, wasn't just a house, it was a piece of our family's soul, built brick by my father, James Reeves. He planted the white rose bushes himself the year I got engaged, saying they would look perfect in my wedding photos. Those roses outlasted the marriage. My ex-husband, Holden, walked out on me shortly after the wedding for his secretary, Tricia. Now she's his wife. And this morning, she showed up in my garden wearing Lou Bowens as if she owned the place. I didn't even need to look up when I heard her heels crunching the gravel, I just kept trimming the roses. Well, Tricia's voice oozed fake sweetness. Still playing in the dirt, Maddie? I didn't answer immediately. I clipped a thorny branch, making sure not to crush the petals. You know why I'm here, she said, stepping closer, her shadow stretching across the flower bed. The reading of the will is tomorrow, and Holden and I thought it best to settle things civilly. I wiped my hands on my apron and faced her. There's nothing to settle. This is my father's home. She corrected me, smirking. Was. And since Holden was like a son to James for 15 years, we believe we're entitled to our fair share. My grip on the shears tightened. The same Holden who cheated on me with you? I asked, my voice calm but firm. That Holden, she replied smoothly. Ancient history. You're kidding, right? She shrugged. Your father forgave him. They still play golf every Sunday. My father wouldn't leave him a thing, I said. He wasn't stupid. Her smile wavered for a fraction of a second. We'll see about that, she said, turning to leave. You might want to start packing. We'll need at least a month to renovate once we move in. As her car pulled away, I stared down at the shears in my hand. White roses meant new beginnings, my father always said, but today, all I saw was red. I lingered in the garden long after Tricia's car disappeared down the driveway. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the fury simmering beneath the surface. Just 2 weeks after my father's passing, and already the vultures were circling. As I knelt to gather fallen rose petals, something caught my eye, a small envelope, half buried in the soil beneath the rose bush. Its corner was damp with dew, but the handwriting was unmistakable. My father's. To Maddie, written in the deliberate, confident script I had known all my life. My breath hitched. I brushed off the dirt and turned the envelope over in my hands. It felt heavy, as if it held more than just paper inside. I didn't open it right away. Instead, I grabbed my phone and called the only person I trusted with this, my best friend and attorney, Danielle Cooper. Tricia just paid me a visit, I said the moment she picked up. She's worse than we thought. Can you come over? I'll be there in 20, she replied instantly. And I'm bringing wine. True to her word, Danielle showed up carrying a briefcase in one hand and a bottle of Pinot Noir in the other. You haven't opened it yet, she asked, her eyes flicking to the envelope as we settled into my father's study. I wanted to wait for you, I replied. Then let's see what he left behind, she said. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a folded letter and a small brass key. I read aloud, my father's voice echoing in my mind. Dear Maddie, if you're reading this, someone has already made a move on the estate. Knowing human nature, I'm guessing it's Tricia. She's like a shark, all teeth, no soul. Danielle let out a soft chuckle into her glass of wine. The key enclosed opens the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside, you'll find everything you need to protect what's yours. Remember what I taught you about chess? Sometimes you sacrifice a pawn to protect the queen. Love always, Dad. My eyes blurred with tears as I looked up. Danielle was already unlocking the drawer. He came to me 6 months ago, she said quietly. Right after his diagnosis. He knew exactly how this would play out. The drawer clicked open, revealing a thick manila envelope and a USB drive. Danielle handed them to me, her expression grave. "There's more," she added. "3 days before he died, your dad added a modification to his will, a clause that's going to change everything." "What kind of clause?" I asked. She gave a faint, knowing smile. "The kind that sets a trap." We spread the contents across the desk: surveillance photos, bank statements, email printouts. One photo showed Tricia in a dimly lit parking lot, handing something to a man in a suit. My father hadn't just hoped for the best, he had planned for the worst. And suddenly, I realized whatever Tricia thought awaited her tomorrow, she had no idea the storm coming her way. That night, the house felt different, colder somehow. I sat in my father's study, documents strewn before me, the letter still resting in my lap. Between grief and anger, I began to understand the outline of a plan, my father's final move in a game he had quietly been orchestrating for months. A knock at the front door sounded just after 9. I opened it to see my brother, Aaron Reeves. He looked nothing like the polished man from the funeral. His designer suit was rumpled, his eyes hollow with exhaustion. In his hands, he clutched a worn leather portfolio like a shield. "You look awful," I said. "Playing double agent isn't as glamorous as the movies make it," he muttered with a half-smile. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside silently. He entered the study slowly, scanning the evidence on the desk before taking a seat across from me. "I see you found Dad's insurance policy," he said, nodding at the photos. "Why didn't you tell me what you were doing?" My voice cut sharp. I hadn't meant to, but the wound was still fresh. "Because I had to make things right," he said softly. "After what I did during your divorce, siding with Holden, ignoring how they humiliated you, I was wrong, Maddie. I knew it." He opened the portfolio and withdrew a check. I stared. $500,000. "That's what Tricia offered me," he said, "to testify that Dad wasn't of sound mind when he changed his will." I looked up. "But you didn't take it?" "No," he said. "I brought it straight to Dad. Told him everything. You should have seen his face, not angry, just disappointed. That hurt worse than any yelling ever could. That's when he told me the plan. Asked me to help collect proof." Aaron reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone. I captured everything: meetings, threats, even Tricia's voice recorded loud and clear. "Want to hear what she said?" he asked, pressing play. "So, once the old man is gone, we'll challenge the will. Aaron, you'll testify about his mental state and Holden's history with him. We'll build our case. Maddie won't know what hit her." My hands curled into tight fists. "There's more," Aaron continued, fast-forwarding. Holden's voice filled the room next. "We'll sell the house, liquidate everything. Medak can go back to her little gardening business. She never deserved any of it anyway." "Turn it off," I whispered. He obeyed, then pulled out one final document. "This is why I came tonight," he said. "Tricia wasn't just after money, she wanted revenge." "For what?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "For making Holden feel guilty. For taking Alamine. For humiliating them when you caught them together." I swallowed hard. The memory burned like fire, walking into my bedroom, finding them together, her triumphant smile as my world crumbled. She had started embezzling from Dad's company 6 months before that. Aaron said he discovered it just before his diagnosis. That was when he began plotting. I sank back, stunned by the enormity of it all. My father had seen the storm coming and, rather than confront it with anger, he designed a trap so perfect, so flawless, it would let them destroy themselves. Justice doesn't always appear in a courtroom. Sometimes it hides in a letter, a drawer, and a father's unwavering trust in his daughter. Tomorrow, they would learn that lesson the hard way. The morning of the will reading arrived crisp and bright. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of my father's study, painting warm stripes across the hardwood floor. It should have felt serene, but my stomach churned like a brewing storm. Daniel was already inside, organizing folders and legal papers on the oak desk. Across the room, a small production crew adjusted lights. That was Trisha's idea. She'd hired them to film the moment she and Holden inherited the estate, eager to look poised on camera. She had no clue what awaited. Aaron slipped into the study and nodded at me. "She's outside rehearsing her thank you speech," he said. "Wants to do a walkthrough with the Chandelier crew next." I almost laughed. "Almost. Everything set?" I asked Daniel. He tapped the envelope containing the CTIC, the Conditional Trust Integrity Clause. "Our father's final move. All set. Once they sign the initial terms, the clause kicks in. There's no undoing it." Heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Trisha entered first, draped in a black designer dress, her grief put on like a mask. Holden followed, stiff in his tailored suit. The camera crew shadowed them, capturing every moment. Melline Holden nodded formally. Danielle stood. "As the legal representative of the late James Reeves, I will now read his last will and testament, along with any supplementary documents he prepared." Trisha could barely hide her thrill. "We're ready," she said, adjusting her neckline and glancing at the camera. The will opened predictably enough, small bequests to charities, minor gifts to distant cousins. Then came the main portion. "To my daughter, Melline Reeves, 60% of all estate assets, including the family home, business shares, and remaining financial holdings. To my former son-in-law, Holden Barrett, and his current wife, Trisha Barrett, a combined share totaling 40%. Trisha's eyes sparkled. She clutched Holden's arm, a triumphant smile spreading across her face. "I knew it." She whispered excitedly, "He loved us too much to leave us out." But Danielle wasn't finished. Raising her voice slightly, she continued, "A conditional integrity clause was added to the trust 3 days before Mr. Reeves passed. Acceptance of any portion of this estate depends on a thorough review of financial activity and personal conduct, both before and immediately after the amendment." Trisha's smile faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" she demanded. Holden leaned in, frowning. "What kind of clause?" Danielle carefully opened the second envelope, spreading its contents across the desk: surveillance photos, signed bank statements, printed emails, and a USB drive. These documents, collected by Mr. Reeves and verified by his legal counsel, contain proof of financial misconduct, attempted bribery, and attempts to manipulate this will, she explained. Trisha snatched a photo from the desk. "Where did you get this?" Aaron stepped forward. "Dad, had you been paying attention? You recorded your meetings, your calls. He knew exactly what you were doing. Turn off those cameras." Trisha shouted, her face paling. The crew remained frozen, silent in shock. "Oh no," I said, my tone calm. "You wanted them here, remember? You wanted to make history," Danielle continued. "Under the clause, if any party is found guilty of influencing the testator or acting with malicious intent, their portion of the estate is revoked immediately." Aaron added, "You lose everything." Holden looked as if he'd been struck. Trisha opened her mouth, but no words emerged. The trap had snapped shut. Just like that, everything they thought they had slipped through their fingers. Trisha stumbled back, her flawless composure cracking like fragile glass. Her eyes darted from the camera crew to the pile of incriminating evidence on the desk. Color drained from her face as the weight of reality hit. "This is a setup," she hissed. "You planned this?" "No," I said softly. "Dad did." Holden grabbed a bank statement from the desk, hands trembling. "Where did all this come from?" "From the drawer," I replied. "The one Dad mentioned in the letter he left just for me." Daniel gestured toward the camera crew. "Every word you've said, every move you've made, it's all recorded and now part of a legal file. You can't do this." Trisha's voice cracked. "We already signed the acceptance papers." Danielle nodded. "Exactly. By signing, you trigger the clause. It states that if fraud is discovered after acceptance, all claims to the inheritance are void, and the full record is made public." Trisha turned to the camera, then back to Holden. "Do something." Holden looked as if 10 years had been added to his life in 10 minutes. He opened his mouth, but no words came. He had no defense. "You were so confident," I said. "So sure you'd fooled everyone." "I did everything for him," she spat. "I helped him build a new life." "You helped yourself to his money, his company, and tried to rewrite history," Aaron said, stepping closer. "But Dad saw it coming. And now everyone else does, too." Tricia slammed her hand on the desk. "Turn those damn cameras off." "I don't think they work for you anymore," I said steadily. The lead cameraman didn't flinch, he kept filming. This was better than anything they'd imagined. Danielle reached for the final document. Per the clause, Mr. Reeves designated his daughter Meline as the sole heir to the estate, with a private trust fund established for his son Aaron. "And you?" She fixed her gaze on Tricia and Holden. "You receive nothing, only the legal consequences of your actions." Tricia's chair toppled as she jumped to her feet, shock and disbelief etched across her face. Her complexion was pale, and her hands shook as she stormed toward the door, muttering something about lawsuits and slander. No one followed her. Holden trailed silently behind, broken and subdued. When the door slammed shut behind them, the room fell into a hushed stillness. Daniel leaned back in her chair, finally letting a small smile appear. "Your father would have loved that ending." I let out a slow breath, feeling the weight of the past 2 weeks begin to lift. "Yeah," I said. "He really would have." Because sometimes the most satisfying revenge isn't loud. It's calculated. It's patient. It's letting them stumble straight into the ruin they built for someone else. And this time, they made sure the whole world could watch it unfold. That evening, I found myself back in the garden where it had all started. The white roses still stood, silent witnesses to a storm that had finally passed. The same petals Tricia once mocked now stood proud, untouched by her hands, safeguarded by roots deeper than she could ever fathom. I knelt beside the oldest bush, my father's favorite, and placed a single photo next to it. Not a piece of evidence, just a snapshot of him and me from the summer we rebuilt the greenhouse. His arm draped over my shoulder, sunlight glinting in our eyes, and dirt smeared across my cheek. We were laughing. Above us, the sky had softened into lavender as the sun faded. The breeze carried the gentle warmth of jasmine and late spring honeysuckle. Aaron stepped onto the gravel path behind me. He didn't speak at first, just stood with his hands in his pockets, watching as I brushed the last bit of soil from the roots. "Do you remember?" I asked without looking up. "When we raced our bikes around the fountain," he replied with a chuckle. "I remember, you always cheated by cutting through the tulips." "I was efficient," I said with a small smile. "Dad said that was good strategy." He stepped closer, carrying a small rose bush in a black plastic pot. "Thought we could plant one together. You up for something new?" We worked side by side, the quiet between us comfortable, almost like a shared memory unfolding again. No words were necessary, just the soft scrape of the shovel, the gentle settling of soil, the roots finding their place. When it was finished, I stood back and gazed at what we had planted. A red rose this time, vivid, unapologetic, a statement of renewal. A new beginning. "I'm sorry," Aaron finally said, breaking the silence that had held so much weight. "I know," I replied. "And I forgive you." The garden didn't need words to convey its message. It had always been about second chances, about life pushing through even after being cut back. And as the wind rustled through the branches, one thing became clear: this house, this garden, this life, it was mine now. Thorns and all. People often say revenge is about getting even. But standing in my father's study, watching the truth unfold on camera, I realized something deeper. This wasn't revenge in the way anyone expected. It wasn't about yelling, public outbursts, or taking back money or possessions. It was about reclaiming my value. My name is Meline Reeves. For too long, I let others rewrite my story, my ex-husband, his new wife, even my own brother. But my father never did. He remembered who I was, even when I forgot myself. In the end, he gave me more than a house. He gave me the tools to stand tall and the reminder that quiet strength speaks louder than anger. To anyone watching who has ever been dismissed, betrayed, or made to feel replaceable, hear me. You are not replaceable. You are not disposable. Sometimes the most powerful victory is watching your enemies expose themselves, preparing silently, and letting truth speak for itself. My father's final gift wasn't just a legal win. It was a lesson. Sometimes the sharpest weapons are love, foresight, and unshakable dignity. Plant your roots deep. Stand firm in your truth. And if someone tries to take what's yours, make sure they know they've chosen the wrong garden. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you of someone or something in your life, please like, share, and leave a comment below. We read every single one. At The Art of Revenge, we don't just tell stories, we reclaim.